Hari Om. We'll start with the prayer first. Samasta jana kalyani niratam karunamayam namami chinmayam devam sadgurum brahma vidvaram vasudeva sutam devam kamsachanora mardhanam devaki paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Rudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are starting a new series of talks, and this is a follow-up of our introduction to Vedanta, and we want to cover now a little bit of Advanced Vedanta. And in this we are going to take Viveka Chudamani text as our basic text, but instead of going through each sloka one by one, we'll try to cover along the same text, same topics, but the essence of it. But the way we will present it is mostly pragmatic approach, where coming from the rational scientists versus looking at the Vedanta and understanding the absolute truth from the point of a rational intellect. Now, let's look at our own selves and the world. We are here in this world, and as we see, we have certain date of birth, and we die one day. So there is a life from our point, a beginning of a life and another life. Then we see in this world not only us living entities, there are so many living entities in the world besides myself. So there are living beings, and also we see non-living beings. So the whole world can be classified broadly as both as a living entity and non-living entity. So the one who are alive, starting from a small the amoeba to microorganisms to plant kingdom to animal kingdom, all the way to the human being. So the whole life span is there, and we are in the world, and the world itself is a matter, and the matter itself is inert. So we have two, whether living or non-living, or mostly we can say they are conscious entities and unconscious entities. And this is what we are dealing with. Now, exactly what is conscious entity, what is unconscious entity, we have no grasp of it still, because when I say I am a conscious entity, I am still identifying myself with the matter as this is my body and the other bodies are not mine, and I am dealing with the other bodies. So therefore the body is, even though comes as a part of the matter, but I claim myself as a part of a living entity, but other ones are non-living because they are not living because they are not responding to the stimulus, and therefore we consider them as the dead, and we respond to the stimulus, external stimulus, therefore we are living. So whether one is living or not living is only depends upon how it responds to the external stimulus. That seems to be our criteria of what life is. We really do not know what exactly life, but we classify as though all living beings in terms of hierarchy of life, starting from a unicellular or even the virus to unicellular to all the way to plant kingdom, then animal kingdom, and all the way to the human beings. So therefore, if you look at the scientific evaluation of the living beings itself, there are essentially gradations or hierarchy of life, where each life form has its own body to deal with, and which can be matter, which is essentially born out of matter, sustained by matter, and they become again matter when the living entity dies. So there seems to be a life principle that activates the matter and making as a dynamic entity as long as the being is living. Now once it is dead, it is just like any other matter and goes back to become one of the matters. So therefore, the whole analysis of living beings, starting from a Darwin's theory of evolution, looks like an evolution of the living entities, starting from a virus to unicellular to all the way to multicellular, very organized beings, and therefore the evolutionary theory was developed. And this is anatomical evolution, whereas Vedanta prescribes that there is more than anatomical evolution. It's only evolution of the matter you are talking about in the living entities. But there is something besides the matter that enlivens the matter. And what exactly is the life? We have no way of dealing with it. Even though the life, or the one who is analyzing the system is living entity, himself doesn't know what exactly is the life. So therefore, a rational scientist is only looking at the objective analysis and tries to classify everything on the basis of objects or on the basis of matter, and then classify this is and so on. Even the classification of the animal kingdom in terms of phylums and classes and all that are based on the characteristics of the matter organization only. But what exactly is the life, we cannot evaluate, because the objective tools that are available for a scientist or for an objective scientist are not amenable to analyze even life. So doctors can say, hey, he's alive or not depending upon the response of the beings, living beings. So when he responds to the stimulus, he says he's alive, otherwise he says he's dead. But what exactly life, he himself doesn't know. And because the tools that are available are not amenable for, the life is not amenable. So what exactly is life? Life means it has to be a conscious entity, conscious of at least its own equipments, the body. So amoeba is conscious of its own body, and the plant is conscious of itself and the surroundings, where the water is, where the sun is, it goes towards the sunlight. So therefore it's available, or it's conscious of its own environment. And as the anatomical evolution progresses, we have animals which are developed where it is conscious of its own surroundings and the conscious of their own upbringings too, in terms of their beings, their children, and so on and so forth. So even an animal takes care of its own beings, its own children, because there is a motherly affection and all that comes because of conscious of, this is mine and that's not mine. So all these points come into picture in the evolutionary process. So therefore, in the what exactly is the life, we really don't know, but we see the organization, there is something else that makes the matter enlivened, and therefore matter itself is not life, but there is something, factor X, which we do not know, that makes the matter active. In the evolutionary ladder, as we go to the animals to human beings, then we find there is a subtle development of mind as well. Even in some animals also there is a mind, but mostly emotional center. But as you go to the human being in the evolution, according to Darwin's theory, there is a conceptual thought that is developed, and therefore human being becomes a pinnacle of evolution, even anatomically. So therefore a thought development has occurred that makes the human being much more precious. And that's why even from the point of evolutionary theory, a human being has not only the body, but it has the mind to think. So what exactly is the mind? What exactly is the thought? Even objective scientists cannot analyze. There are a lot of theories about the mind. Psychologists, they have their own theories, and the philosophers have their own theories. Is a mind a matter or is not a matter itself is a debatable question if you go try to analyze it. But yet the normal tools of objective tools are not amenable to analyze even the mind. And even a thought, what is a thought? But we all think. So even a scientist who thinks doesn't know what a thought is. At the same time, he says by thinking that there is no supernatural and life is only the beginning and the death. So a material scientist may argue that the life is start from the birth and end with the death. This kind of philosophy is also there even in ancient time. Those are called Charvaka philosophy. Birth is the beginning and death is the end. So just enjoy and forget everything else. So that materialistic attitude was there even before also. And that is because we are not able to analyze what is that which is subtler than the matter, which is we call subtle body or subtle thinking mind, and that cannot be analyzed by using some of the tools that are available. Just because we cannot analyze by direct perceptual data or objective tools doesn't mean that we can deny their existence, because the very one who is trying to deny has to think also, and he himself is thinking that there is no supernatural or super material entities. But if you really analyze it, there is a matter and there is something that enlivens the matter, and we call it a spirit. And therefore, in the evolutionary process, not only there is an anatomical evolution, according to the philosophers, says there is a spiritual evolution, and the spiritual evolution is the evolution of a soul. What exactly is the soul? How do you know whether it exists or not? We cannot say, but at the same time, everyone, whether one denies or not, thinks that he is a living, a conscious entity. But what exactly is consciousness? People are trying to analyze. A scientist is trying to analyze. But when you try to analyze consciousness, it becomes an object of analysis, and consciousness cannot be objectified. Therefore, he will fail to analyze at all. The system itself is not amenable. Just like I am trying to analyze who am I. Who am I is what is that conscious entity that I am. I cannot use objective tools to analyze who I am, because I am not this, because any this becomes an object. Therefore, understanding that there is something other than the matter that's called spirit, and we are talking about the spiritual evolution, which is different from the anatomical evolution. And once you understand that, then the spiritual evolution also looks at a human being is the pinnacle of evolution, in the sense that he has the capacity to discriminate what is right and what is wrong, and what is good and what is bad, or what is real and what is not real, or what is eternal and what is ephemeral. So all these classifications can be done, provided because he has a thinking mind. So philosophers say, what exactly is the thought? What exactly is the life? Who am I? Has been analyzed by philosophers, and this ontological aspect of it is being discussed in the philosophy also. What is the real, or what is the reality, or how do we define something as real? And in the process is you have different Western theories and the Eastern theories. And one said, I think, therefore I am. But Vedanta says is I am, therefore I can think, and a lot of people don't want to think also. So therefore there is a spiritual evolution, and the spiritual evolution need not follow the anatomical evolution, in the sense that one can evolve up to human being, but if he behaves like an animal, he can go back to the animal form where he can exhaust particular things. So therefore, the first thing that we need to understand rationally and even analytically is that there are life and there is non-life, and life itself seems to be something that we can analyze, but we all know that we are alive. So one who is trying to analyze has to be a living entity, and he wants to understand. In the process to understand, he has to have a rational intellect to find out what exactly I am, who exactly I am, what is this world, why am I living, what is the purpose of life itself, is there some creation, is there a God, why did I enter into this universe, and where am I going to go, is there a life before or is there life after? All these questions do come into picture, and why we need to look at the Vedanta as a science, that we will analyze in the next talk. With this, we will stop now. we'll do the Purnamada Swarm. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jayanti, stop it now. Stop it now. என்னாச்சு? மைக் வேண்டாம், ஆக்குங்க, ஸ்டாப் பண்ணம்மா. ஆச்சா